The information featured in this program is general in nature and does not take into account your personal circumstances, needs, or objectives. Guests appearing in the program may have commercial arrangements or associations with some of the companies, organisations, or foundations mentioned. Opinions expressed by the hosts or guests are personal of nature and not to be considered as advice or an inducement to purchase products or services. Before making any investment, insurance, or financial plan decisions, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise you on whether your decision is appropriate for you. This program is for informational purposes only. Role of government in education. Like this white paper and the executive summary particularly, it's about education after all, right? I'm pretty sure after talking with you, Mark, there's a lot more content to come out in the future from the GBA around this area, but this is the first major paper to do that. What we looked at here is education. So Cynthia Loomis is US Senator from Wyoming, and we all know Wyoming is a bit of a leader in the blockchain and crypto space at the moment from legislation. And what are your thoughts on her comments here? We've put it into the paper here about making sure people get exposure to Bitcoin, from their perspective. What are your thoughts on this at the moment?
So Senator Loomis, it says it in the paper that a lot of the governments are making sure if a company, like for example, I'll give an example from Japan's standpoint. So if Japan, if someone's going to set up a cryptocurrency shop in Japan, an exchange, they need to make sure that they have training part of it. They need to make sure that the Japanese residents understand what the difference is between fiat and cryptocurrency and understand that the pros and cons on it. So the whole point goes back to education. And a lot of the countries are starting to do that. Even Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing. They've been kind of, should we legalize cryptocurrency? Should we not? But we know they're progressive in their financial markets, and they're also trying to educate themselves. And Senator Loomis here is echoing what I see out throughout the world. And again, it's in the paper that we should educate individuals about what cryptocurrency is, what it's not, what fiat money is, and what it's not, how they relate. But also, if they want to invest in cryptocurrency, if they want to invest in Bitcoin, they should have some type of mechanisms and some kind of avenues to follow, whether it be within their own retirement plans or whether it be a private, a family-owned investment firm. They should be able to get access to that. It shouldn't be, the Elon Musks and, the big guys around the world that have it, the institutional investors that you see now they're getting into Bitcoin. But it should be the common individuals, the bloke that David met at the chef that he met at the bar, and the gentleman that participated on the GBA call, that they should have access to it and invest on some kind of bigger avenues. And I think if we do that, if they offer these institutions offer ability for people to get into Bitcoin, that I think you'll have more and more people involved in Bitcoin. And in the paper also, Michael, we see that with Robinhood, the mechanism they offer especially with GameStop, and that's a whole other topic in and of itself. But they're offering ease access to this to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency networks. I think it's big. I think the education part is very big.
That's massive. And Dave, I know you and I talk about this a lot from, people getting access to Bitcoin in structured and retail investments, but in the future. But at the moment, the actual one of the comments here we talk about is, I believe a postal workers retirement fund should have the opportunity to invest in Bitcoin, not Bitcoin exclusively, but Bitcoin as a wide variety and array of assets. I think that's a pretty solid statement to say, everybody, it's just having simple access to this technology in retirement funds. What are your thoughts on that particular aspect?
I think it's a really interesting point. Last year, I was looking at setting up an SMSF, and I approached a family friend who is a well-respected financial planner. And I asked him if he could give me some advice, A, surrounding an investment strategy, and B, surrounding the setup of an SMSF. And he told me that no, if the SMSF involved cryptocurrency, he could not provide me with advice, which I found my jaw dropped a bit at that. And the reason he couldn't is because of some restrictions on what financial planners can and can't do. Now, maybe that's the right thing, maybe it's wrong, I don't know, but I think it would have been nice if it could have been considered in that statement. But what's really interesting is I caught up with another couple of friends recently who are financial advisors, and I pointed out this challenge, and they've mentioned that the conversation is actually changing now. And within the financial planning community, there is a bit of a movement to start considering this asset class. I think the reason it's not happening a bit more within the space is probably don't have the regulatory framework to allow financial planners to kind of deal with this, and the education probably. I think education is a big part of it as well. The education framework is not there to give the industry the information they need to offer their customers the right advice. But clearly, the industry is starting to think about it, and as we move into the next phase, education is going to be a vital part of that process.
So Dave brings up a good point about the financial planners not having the regulatory framework for that. So I'm going to ask that you Michael, and you, Dave, that if the regulators come up with some kind of risk measurements for the financial planners on how to do this, you think the financial planners will be more easy to actually help the private investors to invest in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I think it's a starting point. I don't think it's a catalyst to make sure it will drive everything, but I think it's a considerable first step. I think what I'm seeing with people who invested in crypto from institutional investors is that they were investors themselves before they took public funds or any company funds that invested into Bitcoin. So I think it's about the individuals in the legislation process being involved to influence it. And that's why when I found the quote to put into this paper, I found this one around, we are forming a financial innovations caucus in the Senate, as Senator Loomis mentioned. We hope to use it as a springboard to educate members of the US Senate and their staff about Bitcoin specifically, but about other opportunities for cryptocurrencies and financial innovation and uses of Bitcoin. So by getting them educated to invest, they can then influence legislation that goes into the economy or into the country, and then it will be a top-down effect. Yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. Dave, what do you think, mate, from your perspective?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think absolutely with regards to Mark's point. Yes, if there was that framework there would be a greater ability for planners to offer advice on this asset class. Obviously, education is a huge part of that. The regulatory framework is a huge part of that. But I know one problem that exists at the moment, it's quite a big problem, is the access for startups to public liability insurance in the fintech space. They basically cannot get insurance right now because of the cost of it basically is too high in order for them to get the insurance. I think for financial planners, the public liability insurance probably, and the fact that the regulatory framework is not there at the moment, that's probably a factor. If the regulatory framework was there and the education was there, I have no doubt insurers would feel a lot more comfortable.
No, definitely. That's definitely the case. And look, obviously in Wyoming, again, we've seen Kraken establish itself as the first cryptocurrency firm to be a bank in that particular state there. So that's also, it's small wins, jurisdiction by jurisdiction in some countries. Some of them do as a country overall, but some do it per states within their countries. So yeah, it's a slow process to get regulation up and running and make people comfortable to invest in it legally.